The most famed and most successful stock market investor, Warren Buffett, has sold $75 billion worth of stock in the last 30 days. His company, Berkshire Hathaway, now holds $276 billion of cash right now. This is over $1 trillion in total assets. So they're sitting on 27% allocation to cash. Now, what should you do in your situation? Should you sell your stock portfolio? What should you do with your IRA and 401k? We're gonna talk about that in today's video. I'm Matt Sorensen. Let's build wealth. I think a lot of people are asking the question, why did Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway decide to sell? And why are they holding so much cash right now? Well, Warren Buffett's very clear about this in his annual meetings to shareholders, and he's always maintained over the last 5 to 10 years that he believes the public stock market is overvalued. See, Warren Buffett at heart is a value investor. He is not a growth investor. He believes in finding value. But his concept and his theory right now is that the stock market is overvalued. The S&P 500 fund itself right now is at a 20 to 25 times price to earnings ratio, record levels of price to earnings right now, which essentially means it is a higher value for every dollar that the company makes than it ever has been. But what is he gonna do with this cash? You don't wanna just sit in cash. That's not an investment. That's a temporary place before you invest. Now, maybe he could short the market. That's an investment betting against the market. But Warren Buffett's not doing that. My prediction is we're gonna hear news of Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway making a private, non-public investment. See, investors have been leaving the stock market in droves to go and invest in quote unquote alternative assets. Berkshire Hathaway itself owns tons of private companies, not publicly traded companies. Brooks Running Shoes, numerous financial services and insurance companies, they wholly own those companies privately. They also invest in other private companies that they don't control. This is a growing area on the Berkshire Hathaway balance sheet. This is what wealthy people are doing. They are moving more of their investable cash out of the stock market into non-publicly traded assets. These quote unquote alternative assets like private companies, small businesses, real estate. These are growing areas where people are investing dollars and receiving outsized returns, beating the stock market. And alternative assets are the last place where you can find qualifying true value investment opportunity. Again, the thesis Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway has built a $1 trillion fortune on. So what should you do? Should you be selling your stock market portfolio? Well, what are you gonna do next? What options do you have to invest? See, selling and going to cash is not an investment. That's like taking the ball off the court and not playing at all. You've got to stay in the game. So what is your strategy? Now, everybody should be looking at their investments and determining, is this going to be a better performing asset in the future? Or should I reallocate? Should I sell that stock? Should I sell that real estate? But the question you should be asking is, what am I going to do with that money from when I sell the asset? Not about what the value of that asset is right now. You could just hold that asset. But what am I going to do next with that money? And if you believe and think there's a more valuable place to put your cash, that is when you should be selling and looking to move into other assets. Don't get caught up in the scare and the fear of everything going on in the economy. Make sure that you have a strategy for long-term wealth building for the assets you believe are going to perform in the future. For Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, it's not all about the stock market anymore. What every smart investor is doing right now, and what we see our clients at Directed IRA doing who are successful, is they're investing in assets where there's opportunity. If you look at the real estate market, what's going on right now? There's a little bit of chaos. There's limited transaction volume. Interest rates have been high, but now they're starting to drop. What does that mean for you? What does that mean in your specific real estate market and the types of assets of real estate that you're investing in? Maybe you track crypto and you believe that Bitcoin getting down to 50,000 per BTC is value right now, but at 65,000, there was no value there. Maybe you know a small business to allocate your funds to, or to start, or a startup, or a private fund, or a private company, a private equity firm, a venture capital firm. There's all these different investment options out there, and if you want to beat the market and outperform it, you need to go looking into those assets. Now, should you sell and go to cash? Should you leave the stock market? I don't know. If you can find opportunities that you believe in, yes, you should. But don't go to cash. At least stay invested in the market. We've all seen the graphs of the S&P 500 and how over time it goes from 8 to 10%. One of the number one ways people screw up and lose money is they sell and panic when the market goes down. You need to stay invested. And that doesn't mean you can't reallocate to private assets or alternative assets, or you can't switch investment theses, but it does mean you need to stay invested. Building wealth is about investing for the long term. You need to be able to weather the storm and the panic and the bad news, the low job reports. You need to be able to weather the storm. Sure, adjust your strategy strategy, but stay invested. That is how you build wealth over the long term. Now, I can't give you investment advice. That's not what this is about, but I'll tell you 3 of the things I'm doing outside of the stock market to invest and build my own wealth. The first thing I've done is I've invested with a distressed multifamily syndicator of real estate. They're going and buying some of these distressed multifamily properties at a discount to their current values from 2 to 3 years ago. So I've invested in their private fund. I'm invested in Breeze Airways, okay? A startup airline, not publicly traded, not at a high valuation of the other airlines, but one that has a lower valuation where I think there's value. It's the same people that started and set up JetBlue Airways. And the third thing I'm doing is I'm simply private lending my money at 12% interest in 2 points to other real estate investors where it's secured on the property, and I get a high rate of return, essentially acting as the bank, the private money lender in the strategy. So those are 3 ways that I can beat the S&P 500 fund and get diversification outside of an overinvested stock market. Now, Warren Buffett is doing the exact same stuff, just with a lot more zeros behind it. You should be looking and considering alternative assets in your portfolio to get out of an overpriced and overvalued stock market. But I want to hear your thoughts and your comments about what you're doing outside of the stock market. Where are you investing your money to build and grow wealth? Please subscribe to the channel. We're always giving you tips and strategies on how to build wealth, save taxes, and protect your assets. I'm Matt Sorensen. See you next time.